Live Forum, Saturday at 6 p.m.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. Once again today, the communist leaders of China stepped up their terror and their pressure in the campaign to humiliate and destroy supporters of democracy. As Bob Simon reports, the new shadow on the scene today was that of the hangman.
Death was the headline on Chinese television tonight. The sentences, the first since the crackdown began, were meted out to 3 men convicted of torching a train in Shanghai last week. They were announced minutes after unspeakably gruesome pictures were broadcast showing charred corpses of soldiers burned 2 weeks ago by demonstrators in Beijing. The connection was clear. Tough measures are justified, tougher measures are to come. At a public show trial today, 26 workers wearing signs accusing them of spreading rumors and social unrest were paraded before an audience in the city of Changchun. The scene seemed to have been lifted from the darker pages of modern Chinese history. Western diplomats say the stage is being set in traditional communist fashion for a purge in the party's inner sanctum. The losers are the liberals. Until a few weeks ago, the Beijing hotel catered to Western tourists. It's now denouncing their ideas. Some of these bright red posters on the wall, which look like they're advertising a circus, are really attacking bourgeois liberalization, words which have become satanic verses to the angry old men of this regime. Family, the party comes first. One more of the 21 most wanted students turned himself in today. He'd been urged to do so by his mother. Individual rights. At the train station today, soldiers were capriciously searching baggage, checking books. The secret police are everywhere. Outside the American embassy, this grandmother in gray was taking pictures of students with a camera hidden in her sack. Some of those people who applied for visas yesterday came out with happy faces today and a flimsy yellow piece of paper, the hottest ticket in town. This woman will visit her husband, a student in Maryland. She hasn't seen him in 2 years. She's going to see a nephew in Tennessee. This is a medical student. This young woman is going to Massachusetts. University of Massachusetts.
That's right.
Been there before?
Never. It's the first time, and I'm learning education.
That's when she caught the eye of an undercover cop and went away. A ranking party official today accused unnamed governments of meddling in China's internal affairs. But the authorities announced that cables of support for the regime and its repressive measures were pouring in from Bulgaria and East Germany. Bob Simon, CBS News, Beijing.
Mikhail Gorbachev wound up a triumphant tour of West Germany today. Barry Peterson reports that in Gorbachev's final news conference, the Soviet leader, for the first time, had an openly, publicly grim assessment of what's happening in China.
Mikhail Gorbachev was center stage today, exactly a month after he arrived in Beijing for a summit that was overshadowed by student protest. Asked about the events in China, he was unusually frank. Referring to a letter he received from the students in Beijing last month, he said, "I cannot suspect the authors of that letter of any evil intent." He warned darkly about the chaos in China. If the reforms fail, he said, it would be dangerous for the whole world. As for the hardline Chinese leadership, no mention. Gorbachev apparently following the old rule that if you can't say something nice about those you must be friends with, perhaps it's best to say nothing at all. And he wrapped up this summit with one hero's welcome after another. One newspaper is even calling him Gorby Superstar. Such German adoration has greatly advanced his efforts at image making. Gorbachev, the new European peacemaker. At risk, the old concept of NATO as the military check on Soviet aggression. Gorbachev is convincing more and more Europeans that the new Soviet Union is less threatening, that it's time for NATO to scale back.
What they're trying to do is to change the character of NATO from a military into a political alliance, to make it easier to bring the two halves of Europe into a more normal political relationship.
This summit, by all outward indications, has been a triumph for Gorbachev. His next trip into Europe, winning and wooing the French in Paris, beginning on the 4th of July. Barry Peterson, CBS News, Bonn.
U.S. Defense Department officials today tried to talk up to Congress and to the public the high-tech stealth bomber a jet designed to be invisible to enemy radar, but visible enough to make U.S. taxpayers want to pay for it. Our Pentagon correspondent David Martin reports now on selling a warplane that costs about $500 million a copy.
The Pentagon revealed today that it already has spent $22.4 billion on the stealth bomber, a plane which has yet to fly. Much of the money has gone into a state-of-the-art production line which so far has turned out just one completed aircraft, but which has about 10 others in various stages of construction. To put that $22.4 billion in perspective, a carrier battle group, complete with escort ships and warplanes, cost about $19 billion. The Air Force hopes to build 132 stealth bombers at an estimated cost of $70 billion. But today, the Deputy Secretary of Defense told Congress he is not sure exactly what the final bill will be.
You really need more data to be perfectly firm in your figures, because frankly, we haven't flown this one yet.
Whatever the final figure, supporters of the stealth bomber, officially designated the B-2, say its ability to evade enemy radar makes it worth the cost.
It's my view that as costly as it is, the B-2 is a major leap forward.
The Pentagon has revealed almost nothing about what makes the plane so revolutionary, and members of Congress are demanding more information be made public.
We're going to have to declassify a lot of things if the B-2 is going to fly.
The stealth bomber is undergoing final checks in preparation for its first flight around the 4th of July. In an era of declining defense budgets, it may have an easier time flying through the air than flying through Congress. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Muslim kidnappers in Lebanon released a Belgian hostage today. 32-year-old Dr. Jan Coles had been held for 13 months. At least 14 foreigners are still hostages in Lebanon, including 9 Americans. Still to come on the CBS Evening News. Gary Bowen on the president's brother and changing times in Shanghai. And Susan Spencer on the use of light to reset the body clock.
Constipation is disaster, and that's the honest truth.
Jean Wright talks about constipation and Dulcolax laxatives.
I can depend on Dulcolax because it takes care of my constipation problems in a gentle, easy way. My doctor suggested that I try Dulcolax, and I did, and I was very happy.
Dulcolax suppositories can work in 15 minutes to 1 hour. Dulcolax tablets predictably overnight.
I wake up in the morning, and I get complete relief. Dulcolax brightens my day.
Most car accidents happen in a showroom. People buy the wrong car. They want a car as quick as a Saab, as roomy as a Saab, as safe as a Saab, as reasonably priced as a Saab. But they don't test drive a Saab. Don't buy the wrong car. Visit your Saab dealer for a test drive. It's fun, it's free, and there's no risk involved.
What's that?
Common Sense Oat Bran.
Common Sense should tell you it takes these 4 boxes to equal the vitamin and mineral nutrition in just 1 box of total. That's more nutrition than any other cereal.
Now that makes a whole lot of sense.
Where does it hurt?
Here.
For indigestion and gas, your medical answer is Extra Strength Maalox Plus. Its doctor-recommended formula neutralizes more than any leading antacid. Ask your doctor about Extra Strength Maalox Plus.
The usually successful savings and loan lobby lost one today on Capitol Hill. The House version of the S&L bailout won't let thrift operators put up less of their own capital. President Bush lost around 2. The bill says some of the taxpayer billions it will cost to bail out the thrifts from the deregulation bungling and outright fraud will be reflected in the federal budget deficit. Terrence Smith has the latest.
Prodded by a veto threat from President Bush, the House today beat back an amendment to his massive savings and loan bailout plan that would have reduced the amount of money the owners of some thrifts are required to invest in their own institutions.
What this amendment does is allow those very weak institutions to delay and delay and delay the day of reckoning.
The fact of the matter is, in the savings and loan industry, the wings are falling off. It's time we toughen regulation.
And toughen they did, largely as a result of pressure from President Bush on Republicans who have been heavily lobbied by the S&L industry. His letter to House leaders today warned, "This matter goes to the very heart of my determination to clean up the abuses of the past among the savings and loans, about which every voter is entitled to be outraged." Outraged also was the savings and loan industry, which argued that the tougher capital requirements will only threaten more thrifts.
If we compound future problems rather than minimizing future problems, ironically, the taxpayer will have an even greater cost.
That cost is already huge, an estimated 150 to 200 billion taxpayer dollars over the next 10 years. How to pay for it? The House voted to add it on to the budget deficit, rejecting an administration accounting device to keep it off.
The administration can try to hide the problem from the public by placing such an agency off budget, but we simply cannot hide the cost.
That dispute will have to be resolved in conference with the Senate and in negotiations with the White House. And while that goes on, so do the huge S&L losses, now estimated at $1 billion a month. Terrence Smith, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
A unanimous vote by the U.S. Supreme Court today to uphold a key ruling on a civil rights law of the 19th century. But by 5-4, the justices ruled this law may not be used to fight racial harassment. CBS News law correspondent Rita Braver reports how this affects the fight against discrimination in 1989.
Civil rights groups say that the U.S. Supreme Court handed them both a victory and a defeat today. The court did not, as it had threatened, overturn the landmark Runyon-McCrary case, which gives minorities the right to use an old Civil War-era law to sue for damages based on discrimination in private contracts. But ruling on the case involving an employee at this North Carolina credit union, the court greatly limited the use of the law, saying it extends only to allegations of discrimination in hiring and promotion in the workplace and cannot be used to sue for racial harassment. A unanimous court agreed not to overturn the Runyon decision. That disappointed some conservative groups, but they hailed the portion of the decision that blocks racial harassment suits.
I think it's a partial victory. I would say the court kicked a field goal instead of going for a touchdown.
But civil rights activists agreed with the 4 justices who dissented from the harassment ruling. Justice Brennan writing, "What the court declines to snatch away with one hand, it takes with the other."
But what happened is that they construed the 1866 Civil Rights Statute so narrowly that in many ways it took a lot of its effectiveness in meaning away.
And there were blasts at a recent series of Supreme Court decisions, including one involving Birmingham, Alabama firefighters that threatens many affirmative action plans across the nation.
Well, it's a major retreat by the Supreme Court of the United States in the area of civil rights.
Now Kennedy and other members of Congress say they'll introduce new legislation to undo the effects of the recent Supreme Court decisions. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
The Food and Drug Administration today approved the use of aerosol pentamidine for treatment of AIDS patients. The action came as the Centers for Disease Control, for the first time, recommended a major effort to help people with the AIDS virus before they develop symptoms. The CDC urged the use of aerosol pentamidine and another drug recently shown to ward off the pneumonia that is already a killer of AIDS victims.
Freedent's the one. If you've got dental work, you've got 3 great reasons to chew Freedent gum. You know Freedent won't stick to your dental work, and Freedent freshens your breath. But maybe you didn't know Freedent moistens your mouth. So if you hate a dry mouth like I do, chew Freedent.
Freedent's the one that took the stick out of gum, and Freedent moistens your mouth. Yeah, moistens your mouth, and freshens your breath while you chew.
Non-stick Freedent moistens your mouth and freshens your breath.
Cash or charge?
We interrupt this purchase for a reminder.
I've got to have it.
There's still one more place to comparison shop.
I don't know where to start.
Here, by choosing the card that actually pays you cash. Cash back for every charge. The Discover card.
It's the one.
It's perfect.
It pays to Discover, the card that pays you back.
The Remington Microscreen Ultimate, with exclusive beard lifter, automatically lifts each whisker. And all Remington Microscreen shavers have 2 thin, flexible screens to shave you as close as a blade or your money back. Remington.
Good friends and good food, but my stomach aches. My party. And my Lanta too.
Double strength Mylanta 2 with nearly double the acid neutralizing power of any leading regular strength brand.
Because my life takes my Lanta too.
More public concern about the nation's nuclear weapons plants. Federal officials got an earful at a public hearing today on proposals to salt away tons of radioactive waste in a salt mine. CBS News reporter Scott Pelley reports on fear and loathing in New Mexico.
In New Mexico today, a hostile reception for the Department of Energy and its nuclear waste.
You must stop being so callous towards human life. DOE needs to confess that its credibility is in shambles.
In a series of public meetings, DOE officials are hearing loud opposition to a plan for solving a chronic national dilemma. Radioactive debris from defense plants has been piling up for 40 years, stored at temporary sites. Many state officials want these sites cleaned up now.
There is no flexibility. Idaho has more than met its share of the responsibility.
The proposed solution lies a half-mile beneath southern New Mexico. DOE wants to stack the debris in barrels in rooms of a huge salt mine. Cost $700 million. When all of the barrels are in place, the room will be filled with salt, and then slowly, over a period of about 100 years, the cavern will contract, sealing the nuclear waste in a rock-hard tomb. Opponents say the mine is unstable.
This site leaks water, the rocks are cracking. That's the situation for disaster. That's not a safe site.
DOE insists it is safe.
That salt's been there for 225 million years. It should be there for hundreds of millions of years to come.
DOE wants to open the site in September, but lawsuits are threatened, and it may be the courts that decide whether the state that gave birth to the nuclear bomb will become the gravesite for its legacy. Scott Pelley, CBS News, Carlsbad, New Mexico.
And new fallout tonight from the case of another nuclear defense plant and its angry neighbors in Ohio. Gary Reeves reports on the Fernald uranium processing plant and questions of contamination, credibility, and liability.
After a week-long summary trial, a Cincinnati jury today struck a serious blow against the nuclear weapons industry when it recommended $137 million in a judgment against National Lead of Ohio. The plaintiffs were ecstatic, but the judgment is not legally binding.
I think this is an additional message to the government, to Congress, the executive branch, that the public's had enough.
No one has been hurt out there. The defendant, National Lead of Ohio, admits to releasing tons of uranium dust into the air and radium-tainted water into a nearby river during its 32 years of operations. But it maintains that with rare exceptions, there was never any life-threatening contamination of off-site property. But lawyers for the 14,000 living and working nearby claim their clients suffer from informed of radiation stress syndrome. They say Peggy Schaefer and the others live in constant fear that past exposure will cause cancer.
I think to myself, I got to get out of here. I don't want to live here. This is no place to raise kids. How do I know 10 years from now they're not going to get cancer?
Government lawyers defending National Lead say radiation stress is a made-up disease and that their psychological test proved there is not enough stress to justify a massive damage award. The jury blamed National Lead for both property damage and emotional stress. It recommended $55 million in punitive damages against the company. This mock trial was designed to give the lawyers a guideline to reach an out-of-court settlement, but it's sure to give a sign to neighbors of troubled nuclear weapons facilities nationwide. Gary Reeves, CBS News, Cincinnati.
The government today said the U.S. trade deficit dipped 13% in April, narrowing sharply to $8.26 billion. That was the lowest level in 9 months.
Good morning. Oh, I know you're busy eating your delicious fruit and fiber, but can't you answer?
No, this is the new fruit and fiber. You see, they've added 25% more dates, raisins, and walnuts to the dates, raisins, and walnuts. It really tastes super.
So?
So, I didn't want to distract my tongue from the great taste by talking.
That's ridiculous. Tongues can taste and talk at the same time.
Not mine. I got a one-track tongue.
New Post Fruit and Fiber cereal, now with 25% more dates, raisins, and walnuts.
One of the problems of living in the land of plenty is that there's plenty left over that must be burned or buried or dumped at sea. An exception is the recyclable aluminum can. Today, over half the aluminum cans produced are being recycled. No other beverage container comes close to that record. Not glass, not plastic, and not steel. The recyclable aluminum can. In the land of plenty, it's a notable exception.
When it comes to buying a laxative, I would buy Dulcolax.
Mary Goldie talks about Dulcolax.
It's predictable. It's very gentle.
Dulcolax, tablets and suppositories.
I would not use anything but Dulcolax because it works.
Major appliances that aren't brand new can scare potential buyers away. If your real estate company can't protect them, you're not listed with the right real estate company because you're not listed with an ERA broker.
The overnight traveler to Europe and the night shift workers share a common problem and a common clock. The problem may show up as fatigue, insomnia, indigestion, and irritability. But now scientists say they may be able to deal with that by tinkering with the clock. CBS News medical correspondent Susan Spencer explains how.
20 million American workers do not work 9 to 5, and they pay for it.
But when I worked third shift, I was a zombie when I went in. I was even worse when I got out of there.
The reason, researchers report in tomorrow's Science magazine, is that human beings are far more sensitive to light than anyone ever suspected. So sensitive, in fact, that simply by driving home at dawn, the night shift worker hopelessly confuses his body clock.
If we don't control our exposure to light, the body will still gear down to be asleep at night and to be awake during the daytime.
But by just controlling light, scientists now say they can change body clocks to suit, manipulating a person's internal time with amazing precision.
Depending on what time of day that we expose a person to light, we can either reset their clock to an earlier hour, a later hour, or have no resetting effect at all.
In the experiment, subjects sat in front of bright lights at different times, and researchers found that they could shift body clocks 12 hours in just a day or two.
By timing exposures to light and darkness, it should be possible to adapt to a shift work or to adapt to a new time zone.
The problem is how to put this new information to any real practical use. In flying to Europe, for example, the trick would be not to be exposed to light upon arrival.
I have an acquaintance who was detained in Heathrow Airport because he was wearing welder's goggles to try to protect himself from the early morning light.
But scientists predict the day when 747s come equipped with both dark rooms and solariums, when hotels offer light treatments for jet setters, when shift workers and everyone else routinely lights up. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
There's got to be a cure for athlete's foot.
There is. Step up to the mic.
Mike?
Micatin. It cured my athlete's foot. It's got Myconazole. There's nothing more powerful than this.
Step up to the cure. Step up to the mic. Micatin.
We've studied your mouth from every angle and created a toothbrush with a very special angle, the Reach toothbrush, with a dental angle designed to clean even back teeth better, to get your teeth 51% cleaner than the other leading brush. Reach for 51% cleaner teeth.
Now, Red Lobster's new 5-star shrimp sampler. 5 kinds of shrimp on one plate, just $8.95.
More for you, David Freeman.
Savory grilled shrimp, scrumptious scampi, Cajun popcorn, and more. 5 kinds for just $8.95.
More for you, Stacy Kless.
A kid's meal, $1.95. Hurry.
Red Lobster, there's more for you to love.
Friday through Sunday, it's our weekend special. Steak and shrimp, just $10.95.
Cash or charge?
We interrupt this purchase for a reminder.
I've got to have it.
There's still one more place to comparison shop.
I don't know where to start.
Here, by choosing the card that actually pays you cash. Cash back for every charge. The Discover card.
This one.
It's perfect.
It pays to Discover, the card that pays you back.
Over the last 10 years, capitalists from the United States, Europe, and Japan have been pouring money into China, hoping to reap big profits from joint ventures with the communists. Now, with political turmoil and bloodshed in China, some of those capitalists are pulling back, at least having second thoughts. One who is apparently staying the course is Prescott Bush, President Bush's brother. The course he's staying is a golf course under construction in Shanghai. Jerry Bowen has the story.
The same week his younger brother was inaugurated as President of the United States, Prescott Bush jetted half a world away to Shanghai, China, for the groundbreaking of an $18 million joint venture which he'd pulled together.
And what kind of project would the Republican brother of a Republican president be involved in a communist country? Welcome to the Shanghai Country Club.
It doesn't look like much now, but that sampan is anchored in the future Country Club Marina. This dry hole will be a water hazard on the approach to the 18th green. When it's done, it will be only the 7th golf course in all of China, and it may make Prescott Bush very rich, especially, say his partners, since he didn't put any money into the project.
Actual capital money is Aoki invested. Also, of course, in the political connections with China, as Mr. Bush contributed.
So he didn't put up any money?
No percentage.
Prescott Bush organized the deal according to the project director. China donated the land and some of the labor. The Japanese firm Aoki put in $7 million. The rest will be raised through membership sales, which top out at $35,000 per person. According to marketing director Ursula Tietz, taking a practice swing on the future 10th tee, the Bush name works magic in China.
If we wouldn't use Mr. Bush's name, maybe we could look for a time of 5 or 6 years, and now we can finish the product in 1.5 to 2 years. Just, I believe, because of Mr. Bush.
President Bush traveled to Japan, China, and Korea in February, just 10 days after his brother had made business stops in those countries. At the time, Prescott Bush said that there was no conflict of interest, that despite the close timing with the presidential trip, he was traveling as an ordinary U.S. businessman. But the golf course deal has some extraordinary features. To enable country club members to motor quickly by the rice paddies and canals, a special 4-lane road is being built from Shanghai's airport. And the villagers of Fengtiyo are getting a new road years ahead of schedule so that the foreign golfers aren't delayed on the 20-mile drive from the city. CBS News has learned that within the past 24 hours, Prescott Bush told associates he felt confident enough in the business climate of China to go ahead with yet another venture, a Shanghai housing project. Some congressional critics question the business dealings of the president's brother.
I think the very fact that he's associated with a multi-million-dollar project in China will inevitably create questions about the president's motivation for the positions he takes and the policy he adopts with respect to China.
There's been no suggestion that the ventures involve anything illegal, but they come at a time of strained relations and when hundreds of millions of dollars of U.S. business deals have been jeopardized. Late today, Prescott Bush released a statement saying in part, having my brother president of the USA presents some problems, but also helps in some ways, such as not having to explain who I am. It helps to be the president's brother, I think.
That's what you said.
What do you think?
I think so too.
Jerry Bowen, CBS News at the Shanghai International Country Club.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. We hope you'll stay tuned now for 48 hours on a bitter strike in the coal industry. That's tonight at 8, 7 Central Time. Until then, Dan Rather.
On strike, a coal country confrontation with the future of unions on the line.
We won't go back!
An all-new 48 Hours tonight